In a major escalation, U.S. troops seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela a day after U.S. fighter jets flew over the Gulf of Venezuela, the closest the U.S. has come to the country's airspace. Attorney General Pam Bondi released video showing U.S. forces rappelling from helicopters and pointing weapons at sailors. Bondi claimed the tanker had been used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. President Trump confirmed the raid while speaking with reporters at the White House.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. Well, what happens to the oil on that ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman, just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it's going?
Follow it. Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to?
But I assume we're going to keep the oil.
The Venezuelan government denounced the action, calling it blatant theft and an act of international piracy. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro spoke in Caracas Wednesday.
Anyone who wants Venezuelan oil must respect the law, the Constitution, and national sovereignty, and get down to producing, invest, and sell our oil. Venezuela, an oil colony? Never again. Neither a colony nor slaves.
He also started singing, "Don't worry, be happy." The U.S. seizure of the oil tanker comes as the Pentagon ramps up its military buildup in the Caribbean ahead of possible strikes on Venezuela. Since September, the U.S. has carried out more than 20 deadly strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific, though they've never offered evidence.
What do we know about this ship? U.S. officials, of course, say the ship had been previously linked to the smuggling of Iranian oil. The final destination of the ship was indeed Asia. Can you talk about the claim that the Venezuelan state-owned oil company, PDVSA, is part of a global black market network?
So Venezuela's oil, and PDVSA in particular, has been sanctioned since the first Trump administration. And those, as we call sectoral sanctions, are part of a maximum pressure campaign on the part of the U.S. to try to force the Venezuelan government out of power. They, of course, withstood that pressure. But it does mean that Venezuelan oil and Venezuelan oil interests and assets abroad, as well as domestically, are under threat. The paradox here is that Venezuela continues to sell oil to the United States. So on the one hand, we have the seizure of a tanker, and then other tankers that are just finding their way to the United States by way of licenses to be sold in the U.S. market. And so, part of this is this larger narrative of Venezuelan narco-terrorism and this axis between Iran and Venezuela and Cuba. But on the other hand, you have the continuation of politics as normal. So it's hard, extremely difficult to parse what the actual intentions are.
So let's talk about Venezuela having the world's largest oil reserves. It's under threat from the United States, and followed by Colombia. I'll ask you about what is a national.
All right. So as you've been hearing, before we get started, I want to give all praises, all glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who are preaching and teaching this truth across the four winds of the world, to the hopeful elect, all the sincere men and women who hearken into this 100% true gospel. Shalom, shalom. Okay, as you got done seeing the video, it's a big stage, man. This is a big show, but eventually this show becomes real soon. And they're setting the stage, man, for the big woe number 3, as you just got done hearing the interview with that guy. They seized, a huge oil tanker from Venezuela, but what it sounds alarming is that you heard it from the horse's mouth, that one guy in the interview, he said, but they're also, selling them oil, right? So Venezuela is still selling oil to the U.S. all at the same time. This guy's doing this fiasco of a seizing, and that's a nice word to use because in reality we know it's they're considering it international piracy. Okay, so this guy's going over there straight up robbing people, man, straight up robbing these ships off the coast of Venezuela. You know what I'm saying? And claiming that they're searching for drugs and, just like the devil making up shit just to have an excuse and go and, pretty much steal their oil tankers. I mean, you heard it from the horse's mouth himself. The DJ was saying, I hope we keep it, this and this and that, talking real bold, but this is all setting the stage because the war number 3 is coming, and they are trying to get as much allies as they can from the from Babylon the Great. Here is trying to get allies, and if you're not an ally, you're in opposition. Okay, you're straight enemy, and so are these other heathen nations are trying to gather up their allies as well, whether it be by strong arm, kind of bullying them into becoming an ally or doing business with them, right? Either way, they are all looking for position. And that's what I take from it. That's just my opinion. You got these, a lot of these Latin tribes out here very close within the neighborhood, pretty much. It'd be stupid to not have allies there, right? And you just got done hearing them. Their main concern, according to what they're saying, is that they're a liberal type of countries, right? And you got the most closest nation being Mexico, right in our on the backyard of Babylon, right? So you never know, man. Because that's what Esau Edom has done historically. They destable the economy or go to war with a certain nation, and by laws and regulations, those citizens of that nation always come and migrate to Babylon over here, right, to the U.S. So if you didn't know that, it's pretty obvious. You see that with a lot of nations the U.S. has gone to war with. They get asylum, they get a pass, right? So not only are they going against that opposing nation and try to, destroy them and take their resources or leverage their way of their laws and corporations to be in their land, all at the same time destabilizing their economy by having a huge refuge of people come to the Americas, right? So, and then you got a lot of people here always complaining about how people come over here. I don't know if you knew this, but damn near 25 years ago, you didn't hear about so-called Venezuelan immigrants coming at that amount of quantity, right? You would hear a little bit here and there, but this is all due to the corruption of Babylon the Great here and trying to, push and bully their way into other people's political issues they got going on and using it as an excuse to go over there and pretty much colonize that nation. You don't have to have your own people there and name it you know, your land, to be colonized, right? They could do it financially, economically is how they're doing it. This is more of a more modernized way to colonize and bully other nations, right? So again, this is the devil that the Bible speaks of. This Esau Edom. He's always done that, and he's still colonizing till this day. You know what I'm saying? Who is the colonizer in the Bible? Is Esau Edom. Still trying to, steal and take the resources from other nations. You know what I'm saying? And use any excuse to do his evil deeds. Okay. So let's get started here. Let's go to Psalms. Give me 1 second here. Let's go here to Psalms 49 and 11. Okay. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names, right? And that's what this devil Esau Edom. And if you know anything, you know that the word devil means false accuser. And that's exactly what he is. He's the biggest liar and false accuser of all men, right? This is why he's called the devil here in the Bible, right? You know, he is the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. Okay, there is a spirit out there, and his name is Satan, right? The spiritual demon Satan. But here, the physical counterpart on earth that does the work of Satan is Esau Edom, right? He has his history on taking people's land, genociding people, you know, here all through the Americas, you know, has a history and very well documented in books through all history, you know, by his own people. Okay, let's go here to Psalms 49:13. This their way is their folly, yet their posterity approve their sayings, right? And if you go into that word posterity, it means their descendants, right? They're descendants of people, the so-called white man. They're the Esau Edom, right? The Edomites approve of whatever this DJ says, man. And historically, they've always done that, right? They've always given their ballots in, you know, given the vote, the okay, or turn the blind eye, right, to any wickedness that's done to other people, especially the Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indigenous of the America. In case you didn't know, those are the true ancient Hebrew Israelites of the Bible here in modern day Americas, from the north all the way to the south, and we were spread across the four winds of the world. All right, that's all through all scripture. Okay, and the awakening has happened, and more you're hearing of people, you know, come back to their heritage, their true heritage, right? But along with that, um, secret being exposed by the apostles and prophets, right? Also, the number one secret is Esau Edom, the nation that the Lord completely hates and has an indignation for the nation of people of the Esau Edom, right? Which are the Edomites. Okay. Let's go here. Let's go over here to Deuteronomy 33 and 24, right? This is all prophecies that's taking its place right now. You know, that nation, in case you didn't know, Venezuela, there are Israelites, okay? They are Israelites too, okay? And all this prophecy is taking its course, all right? Just like the Edomites have always been the Edomites, and the Israelites are always, till this modern day, are here. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 33 and 24. And of Asher, he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. Okay, we know in this current modern time that it's talking about, you know, Asher, you know, which is Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador. Okay, they are the tribe of Asher. And this is one of the prophecies that we know is Asher, right? And they've been blessed, you know, to have that oil, right? And that's what it means. And let him dip his foot in his oil, right? And we know that oil is talking about the petroleum. Again, you know, 25 years ago, you didn't hear about Venezuelans migrating over here. You know, they were a pretty wealthy nation to a certain extent, but they were still, you know, having to play their role is just like every other nation, right? You know, if you don't ally with, you know, Babylon the Great, you know, they will have somebody else replace you on the throne over there, right? But at the end of the day, we know that Babylon is ultimately in control, You know, you had people in the past like Chavez wasn't trying to ally with Babylon, and look what happened to him. All right. They will put their players, their key players in those nations, you know, to benefit Babylon the Great here, right? And if you're not willing to be an ally, you will be opposition, okay? And they find themselves currently being opposition, okay? All at the same time, trying to be strategic about still doing business with them. But this is how you know the stage is being set, man. The woe number 3 is coming, and this is all strategy. You know, it's in their best interest to not have, Venezuela, give oil, petroleum, when the shit goes down, the woe number 3, because you have the other nations, Russia and China wanting to come to war. They could have a place of a base. They could also refuel, etc. Man, you know what I'm saying? They need allies over here on the West Indies. Okay, it's very crucial if shit hits the fan that they have these so-called Latin nations here to be allies with them. That way they can set up shop, have bases there. And this is what Esau Edom has done historically, right? Whenever he went to war with, Japan, Vietnam War, he had other little neighboring allied nations over there that he could set up shop, you know what I'm saying? And this is why, you're dealing with the devil, right? Just as an example, Vietnam, they use a lot of these Southeast Asian countries, Laos being one of them, a neighboring country right there next to Vietnam, to, have their stations there, have their soldiers there, hiding out, camping out. And in return, by them being allies, they get free, asylum here in the U.S., right? This is why you had such a huge influx of Southeast Asian countries, because they let their land be used. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it was worth nothing, because, as a matter of fact, Laos, they're on the travel ban. If you go look at the 19 or whatever, however many nations it was, I can't remember exactly how many it was, but I do remember Laos being one of them. So they did all this for what? For nothing. To then still be considered a ban. You know what I mean? Still have those people get deported, etc. You know what I'm saying? You make a deal with the devil, that's what you got to expect. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, it's going to be disaster. Look at the shame all these nations that have tried to collaborate, right? That tried to do business with Babylon the Great, find themselves being ashamed, find themselves being damn near pissed off, right? Let's go here to Isaiah 30 and 3. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion, right? Of course, we know that this is spiritual Egypt as well, spiritual Sodom, and spiritual Babylon the Great, okay, here in America, right? And this is the shame that's following everyone, right? Those people in the past, again, like I just discussed earlier, lending their land, trying to do business with them, thinking that, hey, maybe this guy will give me an opportunity to come up, and no, only to get themselves be looked at as opposition later on. Because if you ain't continuously being allies with them and let them suck all your natural resources from your land, you will be considered an enemy, right? And look at Venezuela right now. They are straight opposition, right? They are trying to have them positioned by force to be allies, right? Because last thing they need, if the woe number 3 goes down, is these Russia and China setting up shop right there, right? Where they're way, way closer to shoot their ICBM missiles. Okay, it's not too hard to understand. It is very strategic. but it's also a big ass show. You know what I'm saying? For Babylon the Great, doing all these moves, but at the end of the day, the show is about to get real. They're getting all these Latin nations already set up, you know, Mexico. They've been talking to Mexico for a while, Iran, you got China's been, trying to get in their head, you know what I'm saying? And it's getting scary, man, because Babylon is right here, and you got all these neighboring nations throughout the Americas starting to do business and trying to uh, somehow become allies with these other nations from overseas. You know what I mean? Because all this time, Babylon has shitted on them, right? So now you got all these nations like, screw this dude, and this is how it's about to get real ugly real soon. But Babylon's gonna always do what Babylon does, is do wickedness, and he does have certain nations that are trying to align, to be allies with him. El Salvador being one of them. Sleeping in bed, how the brothers, the apostles and prophets, always like to say they like to, sleep in bed with him, right? Raccoon, just to put themselves in a position where they think if they're on the winning side, they can have some deals later on for being, on the side of Babylon. But that shit ain't gonna work, man, because prophecy has to take its course. Babylon will go down. All these other nations out there, these heathen nations, see how she does and how she's done in the past. It's the same old dirty game, and they've they've gotten hip to her, man. They've gotten hip to this damn devil, and they're saying "F you." I'm not gonna be your ally. If anything, I'm an ally with the mother folks, because I actually might have a future with the mother folks. And with you, all this time I've done business with you, I've never had anything to show for, right? I'm still a very impoverished nation, a nation that you don't let decide, anything for its own and its own people, And this is what is getting ready to go down, man. This guy's going over there pretty much deboing piracy, man, international piracy, taking their oil tankers, taking their shit, man, and it's going to come a time where somebody's going to F up big time, bro, and other people are going to get involved, and you got real close. You got ICBM missiles way closer now through the Americas, way closer, This is what this devil does, you know what I'm saying? Let's go here to Jeremiah 50 and 29. Call together the archers against Babylon, right? All ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she had done. Do unto her, for she hath been proud against the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, against the Holy One of Yasharallah. Okay? And this is the proudness, right? This is the arrogant, bold, wicked moves that this Babylon has always done, right? And you're seeing it play out here real time with the DJ. You know what I'm saying? Recompense according to her work, according to all that she had done. Do unto her, for she had been proud. She has been proud against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and even worse, against the chosen nation of Yasharallah, right? And you are that chosen nation, right? You have been scattered across the four winds of the world, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indigenous of the America, okay? This is how we know, okay, what's going down and what's getting ready to go down. Asher, tribe of Asher right there being an Israelite, whether they know it or not, there are Israelites. And, this has been going on for ages, man. This ain't nothing new. And it's just going to keep boiling till it's about to go down, man. They're just setting the stage, because when it goes down, it's going to be ugly, man. You're going to have so many opposing nations nearby in the backyard now, in your own neighborhood, right? Back then, Esau, Edom has always flown overseas and it's all the dirty work has been done overseas. But this time, man, you got neighboring, even Canada, man, that's was used to be an ally, are considering turning a blind eye. We got Mexico, which is backyard, right in the backyard. They're saying, F you, man. Look what you've been doing. Look how you've been treating my people. But again, you just don't know, because these damn heathens, they know how to infiltrate these nations. They got a small hat, a tiny top, right? They got a tiny top over there in so-called Mexico over there, right? In the land of Issachar, right? And pretty much Issachar is screwed, man. They got a damn tiny top. I wouldn't trust that person. I would not trust the tiny top, man. They got the money and the power to leverage her in the position of the high seat there, and they did it. And then you got the cartels, which you already know are being funded by Babylon the Great. So pretty much so-called Mexicans over there are screwed, man. They are completely captured, by the money and corruption of Esau Edom, man. I don't think that tiny top is going to ally with these other nations like Russia and them. I don't see it, man. And that's just my thought, but I could be wrong. She has been positioned there by somebody. Somebody has a lot of influence. Let's just say that. Whether she's with Babylon or not, it doesn't matter. Prophecy will take its course. Eventually these nations are going to be tired of her shit, and they're going to come after her ass, man. Okay, they are going to come after her. Let's go here to Revelations, Revelations 18 and 16, and say, alas, alas, the great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, right? Is describing the great city. And this great city is Babylon the Great, is what it's talking about, right? Babylon the Great here in the Americas, right? And alas, alas, the great city that was clothed with the finest linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, right? It's describing the scarlet harlot in the book of Revelation, right? Which is Babylon the Great in the spirit. Okay, and how do we know it's spiritual Babylon? It's not going to say America, because it even tells us that in the book of Revelations. We go to 11 and 8. And their dead bodies shall line the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Okay, where also our Lord was crucified, right? This is a spiritual book, y'all. This is spiritual. Okay, it's not going to say America, right? This is spiritual Sodom and Egypt, right? And we know they have crucified, and also our Lord was crucified, right? How did they crucify? They crucified Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. They crucified him by spreading a false narrative, a false name, a false image of the only begotten Son. We know for a fact Yahweh is the true ancient Hebrew name for the Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh, meaning He exists. Yahweh Shai is the only begotten Son, the true ancient Hebrew name, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Okay, this is how they've crucified him again. All right, continuously doing that, to not let you so-called true Hebrew Israelites know who your true nationality is, who you really are, and what inheritance you have with Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Okay? This is how we know. This is all spiritual. This is prophecy. And Babylon the Great's going down, man. It's going down. Like we just got done reading. Alas, alas, the great city, right? Let's continue reading here. Revelations 18 and 17. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to nothing, to naught. Okay? And every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off, right? For in 1 hour so great riches has come to nothing. How is it going to come to nothing? Well, it's about to get destroyed, man. It's about to get completely annihilated by the rest of these heathen nations coming collectively together to destroy Babylon, man, for being a wicked, trifling ass, corrupt, greedy as fuck, taking the resources out of all these poor third world nations as well, man. Even them, they're going to come against her, man, because they just got tired of her shit, man. You know, being a wicked whore that she is, man. Let's continue reading here. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Right? They saw her, the smoke. This is how big of a devastation of a bomb that's coming here to Babylon the Great. Such a huge bomb that's coming here, man, that the smoke of her burning is going to be seen across the globe, man. Okay? Across the globe. Right? Let's continue reading here. And they cast dust onto their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, the great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour she was made desolate, man. For in 1 hour, that's all it's going to take, man. 1 hour for Babylon the great whore, right? That has deceived all the nation, right? That has caused nothing but anguish on all these nations, man. It continues doing that to this modern time. Over there, straight up trying to manhandle, trying to straight up colonize Venezuela. You see that shit, man. Straight doing it with Venezuela, doing it with other nations out there. You know what I'm saying? Try to do it with Mexico and so forth, man. And now these nations are saying, you know, F you, man. We're finna be allies with these other nations, man. These people they might, for a fact, be more civil-minded. They might be more honorable into holding their word, man. Because they know this damn devil, Esau Edom, doesn't hold his word for shit. That's why he's about to get destroyed, man. For all the wickedness and bullshit he done caused throughout the whole world and continue doing, man. And his people, like we just got done reading, his people don't give a fuck because they know it's going to benefit them at the end of the day. They will turn a blind eye because they fucking Edomites, man. But little do they know, they're going to suffer the consequences for their wicked leaders, man. Whether they want to say, oh, I didn't take part of it, it don't fucking matter. Your ass about to get dealt with as well. You know, your ass about to get dealt with. You know, we got done reading Psalms, right? It was 49 and 13. This their way is their folly, man. The way that they are, the way they think, that's how you know they're fucking Edomites, man. Yet their posterity approved their sayings, man. Their descendants, man. Their people, their Edomites, they like, go for it, man. I'm not looking. Hey, at the end of the day, it's going to benefit white supremacy, man. Is what it is. Let's just call it what it is, man. You know, these Edomites have always had that demon in them. And that's what their whole game plan is, man. Is to be above all nations, right? And you know, oppress everybody else because he know that his time is coming up. Their elite class people know that they are the Edomites. Okay, they are very limited in their time for their kingdom and their empires going down. And this has been prophesied through all the Bible, man. Brothers bring out this message all the time, man. Babylon the Great and the Edomites are going down, man. We just got done reading it over here, the great city in the book of Revelations. Let's go here to Joel 3 and 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Okay? And this is Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is doing, man. He's gathering all these heathen nations, man. Getting them ready, man. Rousing their ass up, man. Getting them pissed off, man. You know, they didn't have it enough of this bitch, man. This bitch over here decked out with gold and stuff. You know, it's like, fuck this hoe, man. We got to take this hoe down, man. And that's exactly what's going to happen, man. Joel 3 and 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong, right? And this is talking about these other nations, man, second class, third world nations and second world nations, you know, that are known for being more agricultural, so like agricultural nations, you know, not really investing in like weaponry and so forth, right? They were more for doing trades and agricultural, you know, some of these Latin nations as well, you know, known for more agricultural, right? That's why it says beat your plowshares into swords, right? So all these nations that were farmers are like, you know, I'm gonna turn my pruning hook, I'm gonna melt it and turn my pruning hook into spears, man. All right, this is spiritual speaking, talking about how they pruning hooks, they're gonna turn them into damn straight up guns, man. Straight up guns, okay? Weapons, man. Let the weak say, I am strong, right? The Lord is gonna rouse up that spirit, and He's already doing it, man. You see China, you see Iran, the BRICS. That's the whole reason they got together, man. Whole reason is to come against this whore, man. And they know this whore got allies, man, which is NATO. They cousins, man, the Edomites, man. And this is why the BRICS got collectively together, man, to build an economic force to go against this hoe, man. Okay? They tired of this hoe, man. They're going to give it the biggest pimp slap in the fucking world, man. And this is getting ready to go down, man. This ain't no fun and games, man. When the shit gets ugly, it's about to get ugly. Okay? And it was all part of prophecy, man. You know, it was all part of prophecy, right? Because we know these Edomites, man, all they know is red, man. All they know is murder, right? Everything they've ever came across or came up is through mischief, man. It's through corruption and murder, man. And this is why you're going to see it amp up even more, because she knows she has but a little time, man. She knows, this devil knows she has but a short time. Let's get that real quick. Let's go to here, Revelations 12. The dragon, Satan, okay? She knows she has but a short time, man. All right. This is the dragon, man. Revelations 12 and 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, right? That serpent, man. That old serpent is that same serpent from the Adam and Eve over there, right? And the Garden of Eve. That same serpent, man. Okay, if you could receive it in the spirit, you know, if you have the spiritual discernment to accept this, that old serpent was the devil, and that devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, right? Which is Esau, Edom. Esau, Edom is that devil, is that old serpent. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him, okay? And those are just his people, okay? That ain't that stupid doctrine they sold people on, how these spirits, these angels came down here. No, the physical counterpart of the devil is Esau, Edom, and his seed, man. All through all nations, you know. Here we go, Revelations 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice, rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth, right? This is a person, he, which is the Edomites, he knoweth, okay? This is not just a spiritual demon, Satan, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time, right? He knoweth that he has but a short time, right? That's why you're going to see this devil, man, acting crazier and crazier, bold, because out of desperation, man, out of desperation, he knows what's going down, man. That's why he has to bully these nations here, trying to position himself to go down, man. Woe number 3 is coming, man. Woe number 3 is coming. We're going to get that real quick. Okay, the woe number 3, man, it talks about here we go, right here. Let's go to Revelations 11 and 13. In the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted, and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, right? And it's talking about this, the third woe that's coming here to Babylon the Great. That's what it's talking about, okay? If you could receive it in the spirit, have the discernment in the spirit to accept it, whether you accept it or not, this will take its course, man. Prophecy will take its course, right? In the same hour, a great earthquake, man. The only way a huge earthquake like that could happen is with a nuclear, okay? And the 10th part of the city and the earthquake were slain 7,000 men, okay? And the 7 represent a huge amount of people of perfection, right? Because it's Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's number 7, and it symbolizes perfection, right? A huge perfection of wicked heathens were destroyed, man, and killed, right? So I'm going to go ahead and end it with that scripture. Before I go, I want to give all praises, all glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone, who are preaching and teaching this truth with humility and sincerity across the 4 winds of the world. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indigenous of the America, and the speckled bird that are amongst those other nations that look like those from those other nations, but their lineage goes back to a black, Hispanics, or Native Indigenous of the America, which go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom, shalom.